Welcome back to the channel, marvelous viewers. Today we're talking about everything we know about Austin Powers 4. Let's get into it.
Clouds filled the summer air until...
As much as I love a good spy movie, a satirical take on the genre can feel even better. One of my go-to watches is Goldfinger, and its theme song lives in my head rent-free. But when Austin Powers and Goldmember dropped, I almost fell out of my seat laughing. The franchise's elaborate Bond villain traps, gold-obsessed antagonist, bizarre henchmen, and jokes involving Austin's father, Nigel Powers, turned decades of spy movie clichés into absolute absurdity. The entire franchise is basically a love letter to James Bond, swinging 1960s British culture, Pete Sellers, and several British television personalities. Austin's appearance was also partly influenced by Peter Wyngarde's flamboyant character Jason King. However, despite our love for the franchise, it's been more than 20 years since we've heard Austin say things like "shh, zip it," or "Scotty don't." Now, after decades of rumors, Mike Myers has finally given fans the clearest answer yet. When asked whether we would see Austin Powers 4, he simply said yes. That doesn't mean we already have a release date, completed screenplay, confirmed director, or production schedule, but it is the strongest confirmation Myers has offered in years. So without further delay, let us examine everything we currently know about Austin Powers 4. Mike Myers finally says yes. During Trevor Noah's World Cup watch party in June 2026, a fan asked Mike Myers the question audiences have been repeating for more than 2 decades. Would we ever see Austin Powers 4? Myers answered with one word: yes. The immediate answer was enough to send fans into a frenzy. However, it's more important to be precise about what he confirmed. Myers did not reveal a production start date. He did not announce a distributor. He did not confirm whether the screenplay is finished. He did not name a director, supporting cast, or release window. Neither New Line Cinema nor Warner Brothers has released a detailed public announcement containing those elements. So Austin Powers 4 now appears more real than it has in years, but it remains extremely early in the public information stage. Myers is also returning as the voice of the iconic Green Ogre in Shrek 5. Shrek 5 is currently scheduled for June 30th, 2027, with Mike Myers, Eddie Murphy, and Cameron Diaz all returning. So Myers is already stepping back into one of his biggest franchise roles. Austin Powers could be next. A brief history of the Austin Powers trilogy. The Austin Powers franchise spoofs spy cinema through the exaggerated sexuality, colorful fashion, and changing social attitudes associated with the 1960s. The series features Mike Myers as both the flamboyant British spy Austin Powers and his cartoonish arch-nemesis Dr. Evil. Myers wrote the first film himself. Michael McCullers joined him as a co-writer on the second and third films. The trilogy consists of Austin Powers, International Man of Mystery from 1997, Austin Powers, The Spy Who Shagged Me from 1999, and Austin Powers and Goldmember from 2002. All 3 films were directed by Jay Roach, who later directed Meet the Parents and Meet the Fockers. New Line Cinema released all 3 films. The first installment introduced audiences to Austin Powers and Dr. Evil, both portrayed by Myers. For the 1999 sequel, The Spy Who Shagged Me, Myers added another memorable character to his collection. Fat Bastard was a Scottish henchman whose humor was largely built around his extreme size, appetite, aggression, and self-consciousness. Myers later told Entertainment Weekly that his own struggles with weight contributed to the character's creation. What I really wanted to explore was in my adult years, I've always struggled with my weight. When I turned 25, I was on SNL and I was like, Jesus, I have a weight problem. And with James Bond characters, they give some sort of affliction, like the bad guy's monster. And I thought, what if there's a sensitivity around his weight? I really didn't have a character that was fully formed for Fat Bastard until I came up with the line of, I eat because I'm unhappy. I'm unhappy because I eat. Which is something that I had come to the conclusion of about my own life. Some of the humor surrounding Fat Bastard has aged awkwardly, especially jokes treating body size as inherently disgusting. However, Myers' explanation shows that the character also grew from personal insecurity rather than only a desire to mock somebody else. The franchise became a box office hit. The original Austin Powers film was a modest theatrical success. It earned approximately $67.7 million worldwide, and later gained an even larger audience through home video and television. The Spy Who Shagged Me transformed the property into a major blockbuster, earning more than $300 million globally according to widely reported box office totals. Goldmember continued that success in 2002, grossing approximately $296.9 million worldwide. The third film introduced Goldmember, another character portrayed by Myers. The title is a direct parody of Goldfinger, while the character's obsession with gold turns Bond villain excess into something even more ridiculous. The trilogy featured recurring performers including Seth Green, Michael York, Robert Wagner, and Mindy Sterling. Elizabeth Hurley and Heather Graham played Austin's principal partners in the first two films, while Beyoncé played Foxy Cleopatra in Goldmember. Michael Caine played Austin's father, Nigel Powers. Vern Troyer became one of the franchise's most recognizable supporting performers as Mini-Me. Tom Cruise appeared as himself, playing Austin Powers in the movie within the movie opening of Goldmember. The films became much bigger than their plots. Catchphrases such as "Yeah, baby," $1 million, and "How about no?" became part of popular culture. That legacy explains why rumors of a fourth film never completely disappeared. The failed 2011 attempt. Back in 2011, reports claimed that Mike Myers and New Line Cinema were close to reaching a deal for Austin Powers 4. Myers was reportedly expected to write, produce, and star in the fourth film. However, the project never reached production. No complete fourth installment emerged from those negotiations, and the franchise remained dormant. The failed 2011 effort is important because it shows that sequel discussions are not new. Mike Myers saying yes in 2026 is enormously encouraging, but fans should remember that previous negotiations did not guarantee a finished movie. This time, the project will become completely concrete only when a studio announces production details. Could the film focus on Dr. Evil? Mike Myers has repeatedly expressed interest in approaching a fourth movie from Dr. Evil's perspective. However, the script originally attributed that idea to a 2024 interview in a way that combined separate comments. At the 2024 AFI Life Achievement Awards Gala, Myers was asked whether there were more Austin Powers stories to tell. He answered absolutely, while avoiding a firm announcement. In earlier interviews, particularly in 2018, he discussed a more specific idea. Myers said he would love to make a film from Dr. Evil's point of view, joking that it could be Dr. Evil 1 and Austin Powers 4 at the same time. That remains the closest thing we have to a possible story direction. It hasn't been confirmed as the actual plot of the new movie. A Dr. Evil-focused movie would make sense. He became at least as culturally recognizable as Austin himself, and a story told partly through his eyes could examine how an old-fashioned supervillain responds to modern technology, billionaires, social media, surveillance, and contemporary international politics. But until Myers of the studio confirms the screenplay, this remains informed speculation. Myers has never completely let the franchise go. Myers demonstrated his ability to play multiple eccentric characters again in Netflix's The Pentaverate. During a 2019 Entertainment Weekly interview, he also said, "We're hoping to do it and we're working on making it a reality." In March 2025, Myers appeared on Saturday Night Live as Elon Musk. His performance deliberately borrowed gestures and mannerisms from Dr. Evil, including the famous raised little finger. Those appearances have kept the Austin Powers style alive even while the movie series has remained on ice. The phrase works particularly well because Austin himself began the first movie in cryogenic suspension. The 2026 Verizon reunion. The timing of Myers' latest sequel confirmation is especially interesting because it arrived around the same period as a new Verizon advertising campaign. Myers reprised Dr. Evil alongside Mindy Sterling as Frau Farbissina, Seth Green as Scott Evil, and Rob Lowe as the younger number 2. The advertisement reconstructed the visual language of Dr. Evil's lair and proved that the performers could still recreate the rhythm of the original films. It also gave the franchise a fresh round of publicity immediately before Myers' one-word confirmation. That doesn't prove the commercial was secretly announcing a film, but the timing certainly makes fans wonder whether the reunion was part of a broader attempt to test public enthusiasm. The 2022 General Motors commercial. Before the Verizon campaign, Myers returned as Dr. Evil for a General Motors Super Bowl commercial in 2022. Seth Green, Mindy Sterling, and Rob Lowe also reprised their roles. Myers described enjoying the reunion. "I had so much fun. I love doing that character. I love Rob Lowe, Seth Green, and Mindy Sterling. It's like we hadn't seen each other in 5 minutes, and it was a wonderful time." The commercial showed that the characters remained recognizable even after 2 decades away from cinemas. It also allowed Myers to test how Dr. Evil's humor might work in a modern setting. What has Jay Roach said? Jay Roach has never completely ruled out returning. In 2020, he explained that another movie depended on Mike Myers finding an idea that genuinely inspired him. Roach told Deadline, "I wouldn't say never, but it does depend on Mike having something that he's inspired about, and after all these years, it hasn't quite clicked yet. But I'm always game for anything he wants to do. He's a genius, and he helped me get started, and it was a blast." Roach directed all 3 original films and played an enormous role in establishing their visual style. However, he's not yet been officially announced as the director of Austin Powers 4. His previous enthusiasm makes his return plausible, but it shouldn't be treated as confirmed. Myers has been teasing this for years. 4 years before the latest confirmation, Myers told Today that he would love to remake another Austin Powers movie. I would love to do one. Yeah. Those earlier comments were expressions of interest rather than confirmation that a film was moving ahead. His 2026 answer feels different because he responded directly and positively when asked whether audiences would ever see Austin Powers 4. Still, one word leaves us with many unanswered questions. Who could return? Mike Myers is the only essential performer publicly connected to the new movie through his own confirmation. He would presumably return as Austin Powers and Dr. Evil. He can also reprise Fat Bastard or Goldmember, though that has not been announced. Seth Green, Mindy Sterling, and Rob Lowe have just demonstrated their willingness to return through the Verizon advertisement. Their participation in a movie remains unconfirmed. The same applies to Heather Graham, Elizabeth Hurley, Michael Caine, and Beyoncé. Considering the popularity of legacy sequels, Beyoncé returning as Foxy Cleopatra would generate enormous publicity. But there's currently no evidence that she's signed on or even entered negotiations. Any discussion of her return must remain speculation. The film would also have to address the absence of Vern Troyer, who died in 2018. Mini-Me became one of the franchise's defining characters. Jay Roach previously acknowledged that Troyer's death made the prospect of another movie emotionally and creatively difficult. A fourth film would need to honor his contribution rather than simply replace him. What could Austin Powers 4 be about? No official plot has been revealed. A Dr. Evil-centered story remains possible because Myers has discussed that idea repeatedly. The movie could also parody the enormous changes that have occurred in spy cinema since 2002. The Austin Powers trilogy originally mocked Sean Connery-era Bond films, swinging London, extravagant supervillains, Cold War plots, and outdated sexual attitudes. Since Goldmember, the Bond franchise has moved through the darker Daniel Craig era. Spy stories have also been transformed by franchises such as Mission Impossible, Kingsman, Jason Bourne, and even superhero films. Austin returning to a culture that no longer accepts many of his old behaviors could provide the movie with its central conflict. Dr. Evil, meanwhile, would be entering a world where real billionaires launch rockets, control communication platforms, develop artificial intelligence, and behave like old-fashioned comic book villains. The satirical opportunities are enormous. But none of these ideas have been confirmed. When could Austin Powers 4 be released? There's currently no official release date. There's also no publicly confirmed filming schedule. Mike Myers is involved with Shrek 5, which is scheduled for June 30th, 2027. That does not prevent him from developing Austin Powers 4, especially because voice work and live-action filming operate on different schedules. However, until the studio announces a director, screenwriter, production start, and distributor, predicting a release year would be guesswork. The most accurate statement is that Myers says the film will happen, while almost every practical detail remains secret. Alright guys, that's everything we currently know about Austin Powers 4. Mike Myers has finally answered yes when asked whether the fourth movie will happen. This is a major development after more than 2 decades of rumors, abandoned negotiations, interviews, and advertising reunions. But we still don't have a formal studio press release containing a cast list, director, storyline, production date, or release window. So the green light is visible, but the car has not started moving in public just yet. The possibility of Myers returning as Austin Powers and Dr. Evil is already exciting. A modern sequel could parry everything from serious spy reboots to artificial intelligence, tech billionaires, influencer culture, and the changed standards surrounding Austin's behavior. For now, the most important update is simple. Mike Myers says Austin Powers 4 is coming, and after 24 years, that single word is enough to make fans say, "Yeah, baby." If you liked this video, do consider hitting the bell icon so we can continue sharing exciting updates with you. I'll see you in the next one. Bye!